The grand chamber of the Galactic Council glittered under the harsh glow of 3 artificial suns, bathing the room's occupants in a cold, alien light. 200 representatives from the farthest reaches of the galaxy sat in rows that arched toward the chamber's vaulted ceiling, their strange forms casting elongated shadows. At the very center of it all stood Earth's ambassador, James Wilson. His crisp gray suit, polished shoes, and unflinching posture made him appear as steely as his voice. "This is lunacy," Wilson's voice rang through the hall. "Earth has honored every treaty, upheld every law. We've been nothing but peaceful since joining this so-called galactic community." Council President Marcus, perched atop a towering podium, regarded Wilson with a look of feigned sympathy. His humanoid face twisted slightly, revealing hints of regret, though his skin's faint purple hue and his 6-fingered hands betrayed his alien heritage. "Ambassador Wilson," Marcus intoned, "the evidence speaks volumes. Human aggression levels are far too dangerous for unrestricted galactic movement." Behind Marcus, enormous screens blinked to life, displaying selectively edited images, brutal human boxing matches, intense military drills, and grainy footage of wars from centuries past, all carefully chosen to paint humanity as inherently violent. "This is a sham." Wilson's hand struck the podium, his eyes blazing. "Those are sports and defense training, not random acts of violence. Where's the footage of our medical aid to Proxima? The disaster relief to Orbis 9? Our partnerships with your own colonies?" Marcus raised a hand, silencing Wilson with a condescending smile. "The Council has already cast its vote. Effective immediately, Earth's solar system will be placed under quarantine, for the greater good of galactic peace." Wilson's gaze swept the chamber, meeting the unyielding stares of countless alien faces, tentacles, scales, luminous gas clouds, all arrayed against him. The chamber doors hissed open, and 4 security drones glided forward, towering at nearly 3 meters, closing in on him. "This is your final warning, Ambassador," Marcus said, his voice smooth and oily. "Exit peacefully, or be removed." Wilson straightened his tie, a faint smirk crossing his face. "You're making a grave mistake. Earth will not take this lying down." "Earth," Marcus replied with a thin smile, "has no choice." The drones closed in, but Wilson didn't resist. He turned and strode out with dignity, aware of the Council's sneering satisfaction. The chamber doors sealed behind him, muffling the Council's ongoing discussion. As Wilson departed, a small device on his collar transmitted every word back to Earth. He also glanced at his wristwatch, where a quantum-encrypted message flashed briefly. "Operation Phoenix. Activated." Back in the chamber, alien representatives exchanged private messages about Earth's abundant resources. Messages flickered on screens, speculating on Earth's rich mineral deposits, vast water reserves, and diverse biosphere, all ripe for extraction once the quarantine weakened humanity's defenses. "The barrier will be fully operational within 30 Earth days," Marcus announced smugly. "After that, we proceed with the next phase." In their arrogance, none of the Council members wondered why Wilson had left without a fight, nor questioned the deadened look in his eyes when the vote was declared. None of them knew that Earth's military satellites had fallen silent 3 days prior, disappearing from their scans. As Wilson's transport left orbit, he sent one final message. They took the bait. Operation Phoenix is go. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a command center hidden from all galactic scans, Admiral Mary Stone observed the shimmering blue energy barrier forming around Earth's solar system. Holographic displays floated before her, showing tactical readouts and energy patterns. Dr. Robert Gray, a weary scientist in a wrinkled lab coat, pointed at a pulsing pattern on the screen. "There, Admiral. Every 12 minutes, the barrier pulses in a specific sequence. It's designed to slowly drain the planet's core energy." "They're not just trapping us," he said gravely. "They're trying to destroy us from within." Admiral Stone's jaw tightened. She stepped toward a 3-dimensional map of Earth's hidden defense grid, with hundreds of cloaked satellites and weapons platforms awaiting her command. "General Thomas," she called, her voice steady, "show me what our deep space probes intercepted." The tall, Gray-haired general tapped his tablet, and a hologram shifted to reveal encrypted transmissions intercepted months earlier. Council members had indeed plotted Earth's downfall, referring to Earth as a resource goldmine they intended to harvest. Phase 1. Isolate the Earth system, the intercepted message read. Phase 2. Drain core energy. Phase 3. Await population decline. Phase 4. Commence resource extraction. Estimated profits: 500 trillion galactic credits. Stone's mouth twisted into a smile devoid of warmth. They actually think we're that helpless? She turned to Dr. Gray. Initiate Project Phoenix? Gray nodded, and with a flick of his hand, a hologram of an advanced Earth-built ship appeared. Sleek, black, and bristling with technology leagues beyond what the Council knew, the ship shimmered with an eerie, rippling effect. Quantum phase technology, Gray explained. Their barrier exists in conventional space, but our ships can phase shift into an alternate dimension and bypass it entirely. We can walk through their walls without them knowing. Stone addressed her gathered team, her voice carrying an undeniable confidence. The Council believes they've trapped us. They think we're sitting here, defeated, waiting to be scavenged. She activated a hologram, revealing a fleet of similarly designed stealth ships, each outfitted with Earth's latest weapons and cloaking technology. They have no idea about our deep space shipyards, nor the quantum phase fleet we've constructed. They won't see us coming until it's too late. Stone raised her hand, and the room fell silent. Gentlemen, today we send the Council a message. Earth is not your resource depot. We are not your quarry, and we will not lie down and wait to die. With a final command, she ordered the ships to deploy. Like shadows dissolving into mist, they phased out of conventional space, slipping past the Council's barrier, armed with the strength and determination of a species pushed to the brink. Back in the Council's chambers, celebrations raged on, unaware of the silent ships speeding toward them. Humanity's retaliation, swift and merciless, already en route. The Galactic Council's capital world, known as Teldara Prime, was a masterpiece of architecture and technology. Its surface was adorned with crystalline spires and sprawling floating gardens, reflecting the wealth and power of the Council members who resided there. Every alien race in the galaxy sent emissaries, resources, and tributes, enriching the planet until it gleamed as a symbol of galactic prosperity. Tonight, however, the Council's pride would be shattered. In the control room, hidden deep within Earth's Rocky Mountains, Admiral Mary Stone stood in silent observation. Massive screens displayed the quantum phase fleet as it slipped past the Council's quarantine barrier, invisible to any of the monitoring systems that Teldara Prime had in place. Dozens of Earth's new stealth ships were en route to key Council worlds, Teldara Prime first and foremost. Phase 1 successful, Admiral, Dr. Gray reported. His eyes flickered with exhaustion, yet glowed with purpose. Quantum phase ships have bypassed the barrier undetected. Council sensors won't see us coming. Stone's eyes remained fixed on the screen as Earth's sleek vessels flitted through the darkness of space, rippling like liquid shadows. Initiate secondary targets on their communications satellites. When they realize we're there, I want them cut off, isolated, and completely vulnerable. In orbit around Teldara Prime, the silence was broken only by the faint hum of defense satellites circling the planet. These satellites were built to repel invaders from other galaxies, but nothing had prepared them for an assault from Earth. After all, Earth was supposed to be quarantined, its inhabitants safely behind the barrier. Out of nowhere, Earth's ships emerged, slipping from phase like predators out of the shadows. Silent as death, they moved in synchrony, aligning with the Council's primary orbital defenses. Captain Elise Taggart, the commander of Earth's flagship, Eclipse, watched her instruments with laser focus. Targets acquired, her tactical officer confirmed. Fire, Taggart ordered, her voice steady. One by one, beams of concentrated energy lashed out, obliterating the Council's primary satellites in mere seconds. Explosion after explosion lit up the void, sending fragments of Council technology spinning aimlessly into the darkness. Aboard Teldara Prime, Alarms blared as council members in the capital scrambled to comprehend what was happening. Screens flickered on across the council's military base, and technicians scrambled as they realized with horror that their satellites were offline. Back in the council's grand chamber, President Marcus was holding an emergency session, his composed exterior beginning to falter. "What is going on?" he demanded, his voice filled with barely controlled fury. A trembling aide rushed to his side. "Sir, multiple orbital defense systems have just gone down. Earth's ships have somehow bypassed the quarantine barrier. They're here, and they've disabled our communications grid." Marcus felt his stomach twist. How had Earth broken free? They'd been assured that the quarantine would make them powerless. But in this moment, his arrogance was laid bare. He realized that Earth had been preparing for this for a long time. "Alert all defense forces. Mobilize everything," Marcus barked, slamming his fist on the podium. "This attack is impossible. We'll crush them." As Earth's ships broke through Teldara Prime's outer defenses, Admiral Stone's voice crackled through every command console in the Earth fleet. "Attention, fleet," she announced, her voice resonating with the weight of humanity's pent-up defiance. "Today we strike not in anger, but in justice. The Council sought to quarantine us, to drain our planet's life, and to exploit our resources. They believed us weak, isolated. Let them see now what they have unleashed." The fleet descended, launching strike after strike on Council defense hubs and critical infrastructure across Teldara Prime. Despite the sheer size of the Council's fleet, their ships were no match for Earth's quantum phase technology. Council ships scrambled to intercept, but Earth's vessels simply phased in and out of range, reappearing behind them to deliver devastating blows. In the skies above Teldara, Council fighters exploded, one by one, as Earth's ships slipped through their defenses like a ghostly wraith. Earth had mastered a brutal efficiency that left no room for mercy. Meanwhile, deep within the capital city's council complex, President Marcus, furious and panicking, turned to his chief military advisor. "Send word to our allies on Zorith and Ultrana. We need reinforcements." The advisor shook his head, grimacing. "Sir, the Earth fleet took down all interstellar communications. We're effectively trapped." Trapped. The word echoed in Marcus's mind as he watched the Council's primary battlecruisers being systematically destroyed by Earth ships. He had never imagined the humans, a race so newly introduced to the galactic community, could wield such power. Their ships defied every known law of galactic physics, appearing and disappearing, ripping through even the Council's strongest armor as if it were tissue paper. As explosions rained down across Teldara Prime's night sky, Ambassador James Wilson observed from orbit aboard the Eclipse. His jaw was set, his eyes steely as he surveyed the Council's panic and confusion below. With every explosion, every flash of destruction, Earth's retaliation against the Council's betrayal was being written in fire and fury. A communication chirped at Wilson's console, and he opened a channel to Admiral Stone. "Admiral," he said, his voice as calm as a knife's edge, "we're ready to move to Phase 2. The Council targeted Earth's core. I think it's time we showed them what that feels like." Stone's voice came through with grim satisfaction. "You have the go-ahead, Ambassador. Let's remind them exactly who they've underestimated." Wilson nodded, switching to his tactical display. "Target the central energy hubs. These parasites need to feel the weight of their own malice." In quick succession, Earth's ships moved into formation around the capital's power centers, weapons charging for the final blow. With the Council's energy resources stripped, every shield on Teldara Prime flickered and died. Panic spread through the Council ranks, and Marcus stared, horrified, at the reports flashing across his screen. "Sir," an aide shouted, his voice trembling. "They've locked onto our planetary core reactors. If they destroy them..." Marcus's face drained of color. He staggered, clutching his podium. "They wouldn't dare," he whispered. "They can't." In orbit, Wilson's hand hovered over the command interface. The Council had condemned Earth to die, slowly and agonizingly. Now, it was their turn to face the consequences. "Fire," he said. Blinding energy beams lanced from Earth's fleet, striking the core reactors of Teldara Prime. Shockwaves tore through the ground, sending tremors across the planet's surface. From above, Earth's commanders watched as Teldara's glowing skyline flickered, then dimmed, the entire capital city plunging into darkness. Admiral Stone's voice came over the command channels, calm and cold. "We are not here to conquer or to subjugate. We are here to remind the galaxy that humanity will not be caged, drained, or controlled." Across the vast network of Council worlds, rumors would spread of this night, of Earth's vicious, calculated retaliation. No longer the meek newcomer, humanity had transformed into a force of defiance. Earth had shown that it was not only willing to survive, but was prepared to make the Council itself pay for its arrogance. As Earth's fleet moved back into formation, Admiral Stone gave the order for retreat, leaving Teldara Prime crippled and in ruins. It was not destruction for destruction's sake, but a message, a warning to every Council world that thought humanity weak. In the Grand Chamber, amid the ruins of Teldara Prime's power grid, President Marcus slumped over his podium, surrounded by fragments of his empire. His voice, barely a whisper, conveyed the shock that had rippled through the Council's highest ranks. Did they beat us? Back on Earth, as the fleet returned home victorious, Admiral Stone addressed the world in a broadcast that would be etched into galactic history. "We stood alone and defied them. We are human, and we are free." The once proud halls of the Galactic Council lay in disarray, filled with frantic counselors and aides grappling with the aftermath of Earth's retaliation. President Marcus paced furiously, his thoughts a turbulent mix of shock and anger. Earth's unexpected strength had left the Council in ruins, its most secure world disabled, its orbital defenses obliterated. Yet Marcus was not one to accept defeat. "Gather what's left of our leadership," he barked to his military advisor. "If Earth wants a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget." Meanwhile, aboard the command vessel Eclipse, Earth's ambassador James Wilson was already strategizing with Admiral Mary Stone and Earth's top military minds. Earth's forces had withdrawn swiftly after their crippling strike on Teldara Prime, leaving the Council's seat of power in shambles. Yet, Earth's leaders knew that their victory wouldn't hold for long. The Council would rally every resource in the galaxy to retaliate, and they would come with a fury that dwarfed anything Earth had faced. Admiral Stone's voice was calm, but her eyes were steely as she addressed the assembled officers. "We can't afford complacency. They'll be regrouping, calling in every ally, every mercenary they can hire. We'll have to use everything we've got. Dr. Gray, are the phase drives on all ships ready for extended operation?" Gray nodded, though lines of worry etched his face. "The drives are holding up, but they weren't designed for prolonged use on a mass scale. If we stretch this too far, we're risking catastrophic failure." "Understood. We won't press them longer than necessary," Stone said, glancing at Wilson. "Ambassador, it's time to execute Phase 3. The Council needs a reason to back down, or they'll keep coming until every last resource on Earth is spent." Wilson gave a grim nod. He opened a secure channel back to Earth, connecting with leaders at the Rocky Mountain Command Center. "Phase 3 is greenlit. Begin activating the sleeper fleets." On Earth, hidden beneath remote mountain ranges, vast bunkers came to life as dormant engines roared awake. Massive hangars, unseen by any Council intelligence, open to reveal ships that had been secretly constructed in anticipation of this very moment. Earth's engineers had taken decades of galactic technology and woven it into powerful warships, yet their true advantage lay not in raw power but in stealth. "Fleet Command, initiate," ordered General Thomas, the grizzled strategist overseeing the launch from Earth. "Activate cloaking on all outbound craft. We want them to reach the Council's sectors before any alarms are triggered." One by one, the sleeper ships launched, their cloaking devices blending them seamlessly with the darkness of space. Their mission was precise and ruthless: destabilize the Council's most critical systems from within. With entire sectors of the galaxy reliant on supplies, energy, and coordination from central hubs, even small disruptions could cascade into galaxy-wide chaos. Back on Teldara Prime, Marcus was leading an emergency council with the few representatives who remained. The counselors, many visibly shaken, were struggling to comprehend how humanity had outmaneuvered them so completely. For centuries, they'd viewed Earth as a minor player, a recent entrant to the galactic community, fragile and insignificant. Now they sat in shock, their primary hub in ruins, their defenses shattered. One counselor, a towering creature with bioluminescent scales, broke the silence. "President Marcus, we can't sustain another hit like this. If Earth's ships reach our resource sectors, our infrastructure will collapse. We're talking galactic starvation." Marcus's expression hardened. He turned to his science advisor, a pale-skinned alien with a long, serrated fin cresting his head. "Initiate Project Silence," he commanded. The council members exchanged nervous glances, some of them visibly distressed. "Project Silence has never been tested," murmured one counselor, her tentacles trembling. "If it fails, we could collapse entire star systems. The risk is incalculable." Marcus waved away her concern. "We're out of options. Project Silence was designed for situations exactly like this. We will compress the star energy of our 5 nearest systems into a detonation strong enough to vaporize every phase-shifted ship in the area. We'll force them to play by our rules." Aboard the Eclipse, Earth's fleet received a transmission intercepted from the Council's communications network. Wilson listened as the translation team decoded Marcus's desperate plan. He exchanged a glance with Admiral Stone, a look of mutual understanding and urgency. "They're going to attempt a stellar detonation," Stone said quietly, her gaze intense. "If they pull it off, every cloaked ship in that sector will be lost. Our entire phase fleet." Wilson narrowed his eyes. "How far out are the sleeper fleets from those sectors?" "Close. Some may have already reached Council territory," replied Dr. Gray, glancing at his monitors. "But even if we pull back, there's no guarantee the Council won't unleash the weapon elsewhere." Admiral Stone's voice grew firm. "Then we'll have to eliminate the Council's capacity to launch it at all." She brought up a hollow map of the Council's territory, highlighting a network of energy siphoning stations and military hubs where Project Silence was most likely to be controlled. "If we can disable those, they'll lose the resources needed for the weapon's deployment." The order was swift. Earth's phase fleet adjusted its targets, rerouting to strike at the very nerve centers of the Council's power grid. The risk was immense. Earth's cloaked ships would need to come out of phase just long enough to fire on these hubs, leaving them briefly vulnerable. On Teldara Prime, Marcus monitored his tactical display, his gaze locked on the data streaming in. "Initiate the charge-up sequence," he ordered, watching as energy levels in the 5 nearest star systems began to spike. But just as the systems neared full power, alarms blared. Reports flooded in. Earth ships were attacking their siphoning stations, targeting each facility with deadly precision. They struck like wraiths, phasing in just long enough to unleash devastating blasts before vanishing once more. Each explosion sent shockwaves across the galactic map, destabilizing systems and ripping holes through the Council's defensive networks. With every siphoning station that fell, Project Silence became increasingly unstable. As one final station went dark, a technician turned to Marcus, panic in her eyes. "Sir, the containment fields are failing. The energy buildup is too volatile. If we don't shut it down, the stars will implode." A slow realization dawned on Marcus. He knew that Earth's forces had forced his hand. Project Silence was a doomed endeavor. But retreat was unthinkable. His empire would lose all control, all fear. "They've left us no choice," Marcus whispered to himself, his eyes darkening. "If we go down, we'll take them with us." With a final command, Marcus activated the weapon manually, triggering a star's collapse in a final act of defiance. But the energy release didn't behave as he'd hoped. Instead of striking Earth's ships, the ripple effect cascaded outward, destabilizing planets, satellites, and entire sectors, severing Council networks, and shattering its carefully maintained structure. From Earth's command center, Admiral Stone watched the destruction unfold with a cold determination. In a move of reckless hubris, the Council had effectively detonated their own empire. Galactic power grids overloaded, Vital transportation routes collapsed, and communications among Council worlds turned to static. Wilson let out a long breath, watching as the once formidable Council structure crumbled. Their arrogance finally did them in, he said quietly. They thought we were alone, unprepared, and outgunned, Admiral Stone replied. Now the galaxy sees the truth. Humanity will not be preyed upon. With the Council's infrastructure in ruins, Earth's leaders knew the hardest battles still lay ahead. The galaxy was watching, teetering between alliance and hostility, wary yet newly respectful. In the coming days, humanity would face diplomats, traitors, and perhaps new enemies. But they would do so as equals, never again to be seen as weak, never again vulnerable. As the light from Teldara Prime's final explosion faded in the depths of space, humanity's future as a galactic power had only just begun.